to put it on a new business basis where we're covering the cost of interest only for a period of time, that would mean we have less immediate out-of-pocket cost. And yet the truth is, if we say it's going to be $1,000 a month, we're still going to end up covering that indirectly as a city. I would rather just bite the bullet and say, okay, the savings, if they can, try to restructure it to get interest only. That leaves some of that money in our pocket. Find a way to work it out so we are still getting a $1,000 rent for some of the cost of our services on a monthly basis. That may not cover everything, but at least it's a little more of a reasonable basis. Have reaction staff?
Are you suggesting that the city make the periodic interest payments on a restructured loan to the Bank of Sacramento, or that we give them the money up front for that interest?
The wherewithal to do that. I mean, I think we have to help them address the loan. The loan can either be restructured to an interest-only basis, in which case we can make sure they have what's needed to pay that, or they can't, in which case they need to retire the debt.
From what Beth said, they don't have the money to do that. They don't have the money to give that $100 she was talking about. So I think it would be asking for something that isn't there right now. They have to be able to restructure that. I like the idea of the 3 years and then working on that at the end of that 3-year period of time. Right now they have to redo the Chamber of Commerce, and the only way they're going to be able to do that today is assistance from the city. And whether it's $90,000 for the Bank of Sacramento, whether it's I still like the way that it's set up, and with Dan's change to keep the lease for 3 years, and then at the end of those 3 years, everything goes back to the table again. But at least a 3-year period of time will give them the time that they would have to rebuild the Chamber of Commerce, because it needs some time to do that. Right now, we can't ask them to pay for something they don't have the money.
The other thing that we've kind of glossed over to some degree is the partnership with the community council. So by doing that, we're really kind of affecting an economy of scale there. I mean, there are going to be goods and services that we will be able to use jointly that will, flow to our bottom line as well as that of the community council. So, that's one of the reasons why we need to kind of get our brain around this whole thing. We don't have a clear picture just yet on how that is going to affect the overall numbers. But, clearly it's going to save us money in the long run.
I don't have any problem with the motion I made with the amendment that Dan asked for the 3 years, and then relooking at it after that. I'm not sure if there's any other amendments that want to be made on that.
And I'm okay with the seconding the amendment.
Beth, again, the loan structure, maybe you've got it wrong here. It's requested for a 5-year loan, but it should be basically a 10-year loan, correct? Or 9-year loan? You've got a payment schedule through 9 years.
Yes, I think originally, well, when you're doing this at 10:30 at night, it's a little blurry after a while. But it is technically a 10-year loan. You're absolutely right.
So it's really years 5 through 10, not 5 through 9. 'Cause I read it as a 9-year loan, not a 10-year.
Yes.
So you're saying
so it's
now
a 10-year
loan.
loan.
The one thing I would say is the language on the interest terms and that, I'd like staff, like the finance director, to be directed to work on whatever loan you do decide, if you do decide that the finance director has the authority to do that, because the language here isn't quite exactly how the interest could take the intent of how the interest only component and the principal payback, but just some of the wording here should be.
And I would note along those lines that the city attorney's office hasn't had the opportunity to review or write up any of these particular terms, so we would expect to have the authority to review and approve as to form.
We would actually want to draft a promissory note that laid out the details, and we would ask that council give the finance director the authority to execute that agreement as long as it contains the faith and intent that is demonstrated in this proposal.
So we would direct staff to work on the specific language for the different contract documents that would be necessary.
Correct.
Anyone have an objection if in implementing this, if city staff were to talk to the Sacramento were to say they would accept? Staff can
You know, the Achilles heel part of that, as Bob has said a couple of times now, is that if Beth can't write a check for $100 a month and know that there's cash to support that right this minute, then whatever you would have to pay interest only on $90,000 a month isn't going to be doable for this short-term period also.
My theory is instead of us being out $90,000 to retire a debt, we are out the interest payments. So that we're just not out the full enchilada. We're holding on to some of that money if we can restructure it. That leaves some of that $90,000 in our taxpayers' pocket. And I'm just asking, if staff can strike that bargain, is that agreeable?
I don't think it hurt staff to talk to them.
I would think we could have those discussions with Bank of Sacramento. Obviously, we need the chamber there. It would be a three-party because the loan's really between those two, but the city.
Okay. So we could add that to direction to staff then.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I don't even think we need to add it to direction. If that's agreeable, I think we've got a unanimous.
The only other, one other comment I have on how we'd structure where they had the conditional items. I think staff would prefer we do that as a lender and securing rather than, I don't want to be the city as a oversight board, which some of this comes, but more as a lender. So we request in that.
Like a report to the loan committee or something.
We changed that,
Yes.
some of those items that were listed under number 5 would be.
In essence, the city is the loan committee, and you have to make a.
I'm all for strong financial controls on the advice of council.
As are we.
Right, but we need to not set ourselves up to be an oversight on the chamber. Otherwise, you're blurring the lines of leadership of the entities.
Basically, the point we were trying to make is that we're going to be an open book where the city is concerned. So if at any point in time there's a question about any activity or any financial transaction, we want to make it very clear that this indebtedness to the city, I mean, you're going to be our lender, and we are going to treat you accordingly, as you would for your home or your business or anything else. I mean, we realize this is a large amount of money. So we know with that comes a fiscal responsibility, and we're ready for that.
I mean, personally, you've got a lot of discussion here, but I think we wouldn't be having a discussion if there wasn't a confidence in the direction the chamber's going. It's really kind of undertaking to kind of be on top of what's going on and reflect upon it and make sure, with respect to all of our financial needs, we're doing the right thing. And, I think, this is not anything to bring down our chamber. It is a serious matter. I mean, it's a grave matter that brings you here, and your colleagues, and it's certainly bigger than the chamber organization. It is the community. It's very palpably clear. That's what's on everyone's mind.
So we have a motion that's been amended, and it includes directions to staff on the areas that have been discussed. Are there any additional questions or comments? And this is not a roll call item, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Council and Madam Mayor.